Marcus hadn't spoken to his father in over 15 years when the lawyer's letter arrived, informing him he'd inherited the old house on Fenwick Lane, along with a modest sum of money and a single handwritten note from his father that read only, "Fix the room upstairs before you sell it. You'll understand why." Marcus drove out to the house the following weekend, mostly out of curiosity rather than any lingering affection, and found the property exactly as unsettling in person as he remembered it being in his few childhood memories of visiting. The house was smaller than he recalled, the way childhood places always are, but the upstairs hallway still gave him the same crawling unease it had when he was young, particularly the locked room at the end that his father had always claimed was just storage, and never once let him enter. The lock had rusted over the years, and it took Marcus nearly 20 minutes with a crowbar to force the door open, revealing a small, dust-covered bedroom clearly meant for a child, complete with faded wallpaper, a narrow bed, and toys arranged with a precision that felt less like storage and more like a shrine. He didn't remember this room at all, despite clear evidence he'd lived in this house as a small child before whatever falling out had happened between him and his father decades later. Digging through a box of old photographs he found tucked under the bed, Marcus found pictures of himself as a toddler in this exact room, dated with a year that made his stomach turn once he did the math. Photographs from a full year after a car accident he'd always been told had killed him instantly at age 3. The same accident his father rarely spoke about, and Marcus had never questioned. Because why would a child question the story of his own survival? He found, at the bottom of the box, a folded newspaper clipping reporting a single-car accident that had killed a young boy named Marcus Feld, and a hospital discharge form for a different boy entirely, unnamed, admitted the same week under his father's insurance, treated for injuries consistent with the same accident. He sat on the narrow child's bed for a long time, holding both documents, piecing together a story his father had apparently spent 30 years constructing and never once explaining. A story about a grieving man who couldn't accept his son's death and found another boy, in circumstances Marcus didn't want to think too hard about, to raise as a replacement instead. The note his father left made a different kind of sense now. Fix the room upstairs before you sell it, meaning clean it out, erase the evidence, let the house go to strangers without carrying what it had actually held for over a decade. Marcus sat with the photographs until the light outside the window faded completely, and when he finally stood to leave, he caught his reflection in the room's small, dusty mirror and found himself unable, for the first time in his entire adult life, to remember with any real certainty what he had looked like before the age of 4. Or whether the face in his oldest memories had ever actually belonged to him at all.
My name is Riley Mercer, and I'm going to die tonight. I didn't believe it when I first saw the thread. It was 2 a.m., the glow of my laptop searing my retinas as I scrolled through unsolved mysteries, chasing leads for buried signals. The post was titled, Hollow's End, Virginia, the town that eats its influencers. Grainy screenshots of old live streams filled the thread, teenagers with flashlights laughing as they waded into a murky reservoir, their cameras dying mid-scream. The last comment chilled me. They're always found with the same shit in their lungs, like the lake vomited them back up. My producer Liam called it pasta-grade creepypasta, but my fingers hovered over the keyboard. My mom's journal sat beside me, its cracked leather spine a relic from her own obsession with Appalachian folklore. She drowned herself a decade ago, her body bloated and stinking of algae, in a bathtub 3 states away. The next morning, Liam's voice was crackling through my AirPod. I didn't tell him about the sketch in Mom's journal, a woman with hollow eyes and hair like oil spills labeled The Drowning Witch, or that the victim's last words matched Mom's final journal entry. She's in the water. She's in the water. She's in... Hollow's End wasn't on Google Maps. We found it via a hand-drawn map from a gas station clerk who refused eye contact. He muttered but took my $20. The road narrowed into a tunnel of skeletal trees, their branches clawing at the rental car. Liam filmed everything, his camera's red light blinking like a third eye. "Welcome to episode 47 of Buried Signals," I said, my voice too bright. "Today we're investigating the so-called drowning witch of Hollow's End. Spoiler alert, she's not a ghost, she's capitalism." The town was a corpse. Rotting Victorians sagged into overgrown lawns, their windows boarded up with plywood. A rusted sign read, "Welcome to Hollow's End. Population 47. But the only people we saw were elderly, their faces pressed to curtains. One old woman hissed at us in Gaelic. The reservoir was worse. It sprawled at the town's edge, its surface iridescent like gasoline on water. I launched a drone, narrating for the live stream. In the 80s, this town dumped chemical waste into the reservoir. Dozens died. The curse is just generational guilt. The witch is a scapegoat. Then the drone sputtered. The feed showed a woman standing waist deep in the water, her dress dissolving into black tendrils. The chat erupted. "Holy shit, did you see her?" Filter glitch. I lied, my throat tight. When the drone crashed into the reservoir, I waded in to retrieve it. The water clung to my skin, cold and syrupy. The drone's casing was shredded from the inside. That night, in a motel that smelled of mildew and nicotine, I dreamed of her. She stood at the foot of my bed, water pooling on the carpet. Her face was a blur, but her voice was my mother's. I woke to the sound of dripping. The room was flooded, ankle deep. Mom's journal floated open to the sketch of the drowning witch, except now, the face was mine. The old woman from the street corner was waiting outside for me at dawn. Her name was Mrs. Voss, and she smelled of mothballs and bitter herbs. With her yellowed nails digging in my arm, she said, "My mother died in Ohio," I snapped. Mrs. Voss laughed. She led me to the cemetery, its gates snarled with ivy. The headstones were weathered, names erased by time until I saw it. Margaret Mercer, beloved mother. 1965 to 2013. My knees buckled. On the back of the stone, someone had carved a list. Eleanor Mercer, 1898. Clara Mercer, 1929. Margaret Mercer, 2013. Riley. The chisel marks stopped at my name. Liam found me at the reservoir, grinning while his camera was rolling. The Liam I knew, the one who'd bought me tacos at 3 a.m. during finals, who'd held my hair back when I puked after Mom's funeral was gone. His eyes were flat, hungry. He tossed me a locket, slimy with algae. Inside was a photo of me at 6, holding hands with Liam. The subscribers, the thousands of fans who'd begged for this episode, weren't strangers. They were descendants of Hollow's End. Every view, every share, every reaction video was a prayer. The witch pulsed beneath the water, her form a collage of every victim's face. "Why?" I choked. Liam's smile widened. I ran, but the streets twisted back to the reservoir. The witch rose, her body a glitching hologram of static and rot. The livestream chat scrolled, "OMG, this is cinema. She better slay. I need this on a hoodie." The water dragged me under. It filled my nose, my mouth, my lungs, thick and gritty, like swallowing a grave. The last thing I saw was my camera bobbing on the surface, broadcasting Mom's journal entry to 500,000 viewers. The cycle only breaks if there's no one left to watch. You're listening to Buried Signals. My voice echoes through your headphones now, warped and watery. The outro music swells, a distorted lullaby. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drown with us. Go ahead, click the bell. She's in the water.
If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe.